Hi, everybody. I'm James, and welcome back to Storytime with James. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like. All right, this one's called Straightline, No Time. Yes, yes. Look, in 2003, okay, in 2003, it was July the 22nd, '03. Okay, that was the worst disaster that I've experienced here in Memphis, in Memphis, Tennessee, you know, and it was Hurricane Elvis. Yes. Yeah. Man, power was out for about 70% of the people in Memphis, and it was terrible. It was terrible. Trees were down and everything. Winds was up to one over 100 miles an hour. The winds. So I remember distinctively when I got off work. No, when I got home the next day when I woke up, it was nice outside. It was fine outside. But they kept issuing a severe thunderstorm warning. Severe thunderstorm warning. So I figured, I said, oh, well, I just won't go out nowhere today. I won't go out anywhere because I was off that day and was about to go out and stuff, do something. But I changed my mind and I stayed home. So I went in the kitchen and started preparing a little meal for myself. But then it started getting a little bit windy out there outside. But it wasn't raining yet. But the skies turned green and stuff like that. So I said, oh man, it is a thunderstorm coming. So they turned green. Then I went to open the door and the wind was pulling the screen from my hand. So I held it, and then I saw literally my garbage can fly past the house, and garbage was just strewn out. But I couldn't go clean it up because hey, the wind took everything like half a block away. So I said, man, this is crazy. So I closed the door real quick and locked it and just hunkered down for a minute. But when I did, all of a sudden, wind started coming. It was coming hard, and I'm talking about it was only for like a few minutes, like 15 minutes, 10 minutes or something. It was real windy outside, and then it got nice again. When I looked out the door, if you would have saw the destruction that I've seen, everything was, trees were all in the street and everything. Trees were uprooted from the ground. So I said, "Oh my goodness, man!" Come to find out, it cost $500 million to repair everything. This how much that hurricane caused us. $500 million. And we had 7 fatalities out of it. You know, from trees falling on houses, on people, and everything. People being out in the streets when it happened. Man, it was terrible. It was terrible. And some people had to wait a month before their power was restored. Now, me, on the other hand, I had to wait like 7 or 8 days before I got power. So I had to kind of live like a caveman or something. You know, I had to fire the grill up and put some meat on there. And check this out. After the hurricane came through here, it was stifling hot. I'm telling you, man, the temperature just rose up. So there's no air conditioner. I couldn't fire up the air conditioner because I had no power. The trees had failed. So many trees had failed that they were falling against the power lines. So it was damaged. So there was nothing you can do but resort to primitive living. You know, I looked up. I went out and found some dry ice, so I can put some of the food that I had in the fridge on inside of a one of those big cooler things. Put it in there, but I'm telling you, man, it was terrible because we couldn't survive. And the hotel that I worked at, they offered me a room. They offered me a room too, but I declined it because I was going on vacation. So the next day, I tried to call the hotel back. They said we fully booked. We're fully booked now. But they had offered me a room, you know. But there was a day when I was going on vacation. So man, it's terrible. It was terrible. Man, that hurricane tore some of everything up. Even the stores didn't have power. So their meat was about to spoil in there and everything. So I just had to. All I can do was barbecue most of the meat that I had in the refrigerator, like chicken and stuff like that, and then take it and put it in the cooler, so it won't spoil. But we had no microwaves either, so there was no way to microwave it or something like that. So I had to keep that grill running, keep the grill going, keep the grill going, and put meat on there as when somebody wanted to eat. But man, Hurricane Elvis, it was terrible, man. But and I had for lights, I had a car battery that I hooked little lights to. I hooked it to the positive and a negative and lit a light for the house. So I had one in the kitchen and one in the living room. So that's how we had to live. And I had flashlights and stuff like that, and had some of those lights that you push them in, but the batteries kept going out. And batteries, there was a shortage of batteries. Everybody was out buying batteries. Everybody was out buying tissue, which I don't understand. But they always buy the first thing they buy out is tissue out here. They go and buy tissue and the bottled water. But we had water. The water line wasn't damaged. And I heard that Memphis had some of the best water around here. So you can safely drink out the tap, you know. But everybody was going out buying bottled water. So, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I survived through that. You know, me and my family. I'm surprised we survived through that. We had cell phones, but so we would call each other. My sister and them and my nephews and everybody, they didn't have power. So I would call them and say, "Y'all got power?" They said, "No, not yet." I said, "Me either." We was on different sides of the town. But eventually my lights came on first. They came on like after 8 days. My lights came on. And I was so happy, man. I was so happy. We had to I could turn the air on and everything. That was the first thing I did. The first thing I did, I turned the air on, and we just sat there in front of the air conditioner. You know. Mm, mm, mm. I'm telling you, man, that was a trying time. Yeah, to survive 8 days without power. Period. No power. Period. Now you could have got a generator, but of course the price on generators went total skyrocketed up to the sky. Then, so it was no use trying. It was no use trying. But man, if I would have heard the sirens, then I would have knew that it was dangerous. But I didn't hear no siren, and nobody heard sirens. Matter of fact, they didn't sound the sirens because they only sound the sirens unless it's a tornado. And this was just like a tornado, but it was straight line winds, straight line wind. So it was winds going like straight across. And I'm telling you, man, it wreaked havoc around here. Even it was even worse than the snowstorm we had, the ice storm. When there was a lot of ice out here, it was worse than that because it was stifling hot. Man, I took so many showers, so many cold showers. Man, it was ridiculous that I took so many showers trying to stay cool. But man, that was the worst disaster around here. A lot of people had problems during Hurricane Katrina and stuff like that, but Hurricane Elvis was a devastating hurricane. Yes, it was devastating. And I don't want to go through that again. So I hope it never happens again. But how many of y'all was here during Hurricane Elvis? Yes, I know y'all had some hardships too. Because man, I'm telling you, it was bad. But I'm telling you, the power people, MLGNW, they worked diligently to get power restored. So they went to each side of town and tried to get everything restored. But a lot of people, so it took a month. It took a month to restore everything. So I feel sorry for those people who was without power for a month. I'm lucky I stayed closer to Midtown, so they kind of got to me kind of quick. But I don't know. All right, you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like. And hit that bell notification. Hit that bell notification so that you know every time I drop another video. And share, share, share. Share my videos with your family. Share my videos with your friends. Share my videos with your loved ones. And even share it with your enemies. Yes. All right, you guys. Peace. Adios. Salamet.